The Galactic Concord was a grand assembly, a gathering of intelligent species from across the stars. It was a place where beings with shimmering scales, translucent skin, and metallic limbs came together to discuss matters of importance for all life in the universe. Humanity had joined this coalition only recently, eager to prove itself among older, more advanced civilizations. For years, humans had been seen as newcomers, bright-eyed and ambitious, but lacking the wisdom that centuries of interstellar exploration brought. Yet, despite their relative inexperience, they had earned a reputation for bravery and determination. On this particular day, the Concord Hall buzzed with tension. Representatives from dozens of species filled the circular chamber, their forms casting strange shadows under the soft glow of alien lights. At the center of the room floated a holographic image, an enormous spherical object drifting near a dying star on the edge of known space. The artifact radiated mysterious energy waves, pulses that no one could fully explain. Scientists called it the beacon, though no one knew who or what had created it. Some believed it might hold secrets to unlimited power. Others feared it could trigger galactic destruction. One by one, representatives stepped forward to address the council. Each voice echoed through the hall, yet each carried the same message. We cannot risk our people. The Zarathians, tall and slender with crystalline eyes, declined because their homeworld depended on fragile ecosystems. The Corlics, insectoid creatures with clicking mandibles, refused due to fears of destabilizing their hive networks. Even the mighty Krylos, warriors clad in armor made from meteorite steel, shook their heads solemnly. One after another, every species turned away from the mission, citing dangers too great to justify involvement. At last, it was humanity's turn to speak. A man named Jeho Kim rose from his seat. He wasn't particularly imposing, average height, dark hair streaked with gray, wearing a simple uniform adorned with Earth's emblem. But there was something steady about him, a quiet confidence that drew attention. As he walked to the podium, whispers rippled through the crowd. What would these humans say? Would they also walk away? Jeho stood silently for a moment, letting the weight of the situation settle over the room. Then, in clear, measured tones, he spoke. Every other species has chosen not to act, he began. His voice carried no arrogance, only resolve. But we believe that doing nothing is not an option. If this artifact holds answers that could benefit all of us, then someone must step forward. We will do it. A murmur swept through the hall. Some looked impressed. Others exchanged skeptical glances. The Krylos ambassador leaned back in his chair, crossing his armored arms. You are brave human, he rumbled. But bravery alone will not save you if this thing turns out to be hostile. Jeho nodded calmly. Bravery is enough, I agree. That's why we'll prepare carefully. But walking away without trying? That's not who we are. When the session ended, humanity's decision reverberated throughout the galaxy. Back on Earth, news of Jeho's declaration spread quickly. People debated passionately. Some praised the decision as bold and necessary, while others worried it might lead to disaster. Still, preparations moved forward swiftly. Humanity had promised to take on the mission, and now they needed a team capable of handling whatever challenges lay ahead. Jeho gathered for individuals he trusted implicitly. First was Hygiene Park, a brilliant astrophysicist whose mind worked like a finely tuned machine. She had spent years studying cosmic phenomena and was known for her ability to solve problems others deemed impossible. Next came Dong Sik Lee, a daring pilot famous for his skill in navigating treacherous routes. His reflexes were unmatched and his courage unwavering. Su Bin Choi, a linguist specializing in ancient scripts, joined them as well. Her expertise in decoding forgotten languages would prove invaluable when deciphering any messages hidden within the artifact. Finally, Min Ji-Yun rounded out the group, a resourceful engineer who thrived under pressure and had fixed almost anything with a toolbox and sheer determination. Together, they boarded the Horizon, a sleek spacecraft designed with cutting-edge technology. Its hull gleamed silver under the sunlight, and its engines hummed with power. Before departure, Jeho addressed the crew one final time. This mission won't be easy, he said, standing before them in the ship's command center. We're heading into unknown territory, and we may face dangers none of U.S. can predict. But remember this. We volunteered for this because we believe in the potential of discovery. Whatever happens, we face it together. With those words, the Horizon launched into the vastness of space. The journey ahead would take weeks, giving the crew plenty of time to bond and prepare. They trained rigorously, running simulations and strategizing for every possible scenario. Hygiene pored over data about the dying star and the artifact's energy readings, searching for patterns or clues. Dong-Sik practiced intricate flight maneuvers, ensuring he could handle anything the void might throw at them. Subin studied images of the artifact's surface, trying to make sense of the glowing runes etched into its shell. And Min-Ji tinkered endlessly with the ship's systems, reinforcing shields and calibrating sensors. Despite their focus, moment of levity kept morale high. During meals, they shared stories of home, memories of family gatherings, childhood adventures, and dreams for the future. Jeho often listened quietly, smiling faintly as his teammates laughed and teased one another. These connections mattered. They reminded everyone what they were fighting for. As the Horizon approached the coordinates of the artifact, excitement mingled with apprehension. None of them knew exactly what awaited them, but they were ready, or as ready as anyone could be when venturing into the unknown. Through the viewport, the dying star loomed larger, its light flickering weakly like a candle about to go out. Around it swirled debris, chunks of rock and ice caught in the star's fading gravity. Then, suddenly, the artifact appeared. It hung in the darkness, massive and enigmatic, its surface shimmering with iridescent colors. Runes pulsed rhythmically, casting eerie reflections across the ship's interior. Everyone froze, staring at the sight before them. This was it, the moment they had prepared for, the reason they had left everything behind. "We're here," Jeho said softly, breaking the silence. His voice carried both awe and determination. "Let's get to work." And so, with hearts pounding and minds sharp, the crew of the Horizon prepared to meet the greatest challenge humanity had ever faced. The crew of the Horizon stared at the artifact through the ship's viewport, their breaths catching in their throats. It was even more massive up close, larger than any structure humanity had ever built. The surface shimmered with an otherworldly glow, and the runes etched into its shell pulsed like a heartbeat. Each pulse sent faint vibrations rippling through space, as if the artifact itself were alive. Dong sickly gripped the controls tightly, his knuckles white. Flying near the artifact wasn't going to be easy. As they approached, strange energy waves began interfering with the ship's systems. Alarms blared, and warning lights flashed across the dashboard. "We've got problems," Dong-Sik muttered, his voice tense. "The artifact's messing with our instruments." Hygiene Park leaned over a console, scanning the readouts. Her sharp eyes darted between screens as she processed the data. "It's emitting some kind of electromagnetic field," she explained. "It's disrupting our navigation systems and sensors. At this rate, we won't be able to maintain control much longer." Jeho Kim stood behind them, watching silently. His calm demeanor masked the unease building inside him. He trusted his team, but the situation was growing more dangerous by the second. "Can you stabilize the ship?" he asked Dong-Sik. "I can try," Dong-Sik replied, his hands moving quickly over the controls. "But I'll need to fly manually. Automated systems are useless here." With that, Dong-Sik switched off the autopilot and took full control of the Horizon. The ship shuddered violently as it fought against the artifact's pull. Outside, jagged asteroids tumbled chaotically around a dying star, creating a deadly obstacle course. Dong-Sik's instincts kicked in as he maneuvered the ship through narrow gaps, dodging collisions by mere meters. Sweat dripped down his forehead, but he didn't falter. Every twist and turn brought them closer to the artifact, and deeper into danger. Meanwhile, Min-Ji worked furiously to counteract the interference. He crawled through the ship's tight corridors, opening panels and rerouting power cables. Sparks flew from one junction as he adjusted circuits, muttering under his breath. "Come on, don't fail me now," he grumbled, tightening a loose connection. Back in the command center, Subin Choi monitored his progress while keeping an eye on the artifact's runes. She hoped to find some clue about how to disable or neutralize the energy field. Anything yet? Jeho asked, glancing at Subin. She shook her head. Not yet. These symbols are unlike anything I've seen before. They're complex, layered. It'll take time to decode them. Time was something they didn't have. The artifact's pull grew stronger, dragging the horizon closer despite Dong-Sik's best efforts. The ship's hull groaned under the strain, and warning alarms screamed louder. Hygiene shouted over the noise. If we don't break free soon, we're going to get crushed. Jeho clenched his fists. Everyone focus, he commanded. Dong-Sik, keep us steady. Min-Ji, do whatever it takes to stabilize the systems. Subin, prioritize those runes. Hygiene, monitor the energy readings. We can get through this. The team doubled down on their tasks, working together with precision born of desperation. Min-Ji managed to reinforce the ship's shields just enough to withstand the pressure temporarily. Dong-Sik executed a daring barrel roll to avoid a massive asteroid hurtling toward them, and Hygiene spotted a fluctuation in the artifact's energy field, a brief window where it weakened slightly. There, she exclaimed, pointing at her screen. If we time it right, we might be able to slip past the worst of the interference. Dong-Sik nodded grimly. Hold on tight, he warned, gripping the controls with renewed determination. With a burst of speed, he guided the horizon through the gap in the energy field. For a moment, it felt like they were flying through molasses, the ship straining against invisible forces. Then, suddenly they broke free. The crew let out a collective sigh of relief as the alarms quieted and the ship stabilized. But their respite was short-lived. Before they could celebrate, the artifact reacted unexpectedly. A beam of light shot out from its surface, enveloping the horizon in a shimmering containment field. The ship jolted to a halt, trapped like a bug in amber. What's happening now? Jeho demanded, his voice rising. Hygiene frantically scanned the new readings. It's holding us in place. I don't think we can move until it releases us. Subin frowned, studying the runes again. Maybe it's testing us, she suggested. These symbols, they look different now. More active, almost responsive. Min-Ji slammed his fist against the console in frustration. Great. Now what? Are we supposed to sit here and wait for it to decide whether to let us go? Tensions flared as fear and exhaustion took their toll. Dong-Sik snapped back. We wouldn't be in this mess if someone had thought to warn us about this kind of thing beforehand. And whose fault is it that we ended up flying straight into its trap? Min-Ji shot back, glaring at him. Enough. Jeho barked, stepping between them. Arguing isn't going to help. We're all tired and stressed, but we need to stay focused. This mission depends on us working together. His words cut through the tension, silencing the room. Everyone looked down, ashamed of their outbursts. Jeho softened his tone. Look, I know this is hard. None of us expected this. But we volunteered for this because we believed in the possibility of discovery. Let's not lose sight of that. Slowly, the crew regained their composure. Hygiene returned to analyzing the energy readings, searching for a way to escape the containment field. Subin pored over the runes, determined to uncover their meaning. Min-Ji and Dong-Sik exchanged apologetic glances before focusing on their respective tasks. Hours passed as they worked tirelessly, each member contributing their expertise. Finally, Subin made a breakthrough. I think I understand part of it, she announced, excitement creeping into her voice. These symbols, they're instructions. The artifact wants us to interact with it. Maybe it's waiting for us to make the first move. Jeho considered her words carefully. If that's true, then we need to figure out how to respond. But we have to be cautious. We don't know what it might do. Hygiene nodded. Agreed. Whatever happens next, we should approach it step by step. No rushing in blindly. With renewed purpose, the team devised a plan. Using the Horizon's communication array, they transmitted a signal encoded with basic mathematical patterns, a universal language often used in first contact scenarios. To their surprise, the artifact responded almost immediately. The runes shifted, rearranging themselves into new configurations. A low hum filled the air, resonating through the ship. It's acknowledging us, Subin said, her eyes wide with wonder. This is incredible. It's intelligent. But their excitement was tempered by caution. The artifact's intelligence didn't necessarily mean it was friendly. As the crew continued to study the runes, they realized the artifact was offering them access, but only if they met certain conditions. What those conditions were remained unclear, hidden behind layers of cryptic symbols. "We're getting closer," Jeho said, addressing the team. "Keep pushing. We'll figure this out." And so, trapped within the artifact's grasp, the crew pressed onward. They knew the stakes were high, but they also knew they couldn't give up. Humanity had come this far because of their willingness to face the unknown. Now, they had to prove that courage alone wasn't enough. It had to be paired with unity, ingenuity, and trust. Outside, the dying star cast long shadows across the void, its flickering light a reminder of the fragility of existence. Inside the horizon, 5 humans worked together, bound by a shared purpose. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as one. The artifact's response to their signal was both thrilling and unsettling. The runes on its surface rearranged themselves into patterns that pulsed with increasing intensity, as if the object were alive and communicating in a language beyond human comprehension. Subin Choi stared at her screen, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she tried to decode the symbols. Her brow furrowed in concentration, but there was also a flicker of excitement in her eyes. This was what she lived for, unraveling mysteries no one else could solve. "It's responding," she said aloud, breaking the tense silence in the command center. "But it's not just acknowledging us. It's asking something." Jeho Kim stepped closer, leaning over her shoulder. "What do you mean, asking?" Subin hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "It's hard to explain. These symbols, they're layered. Some parts are instructions, others seem like questions. I think it's testing us, trying to see if we understand its purpose." Hygiene Park joined them, her sharp gaze scanning the data Subin had pulled up. Could it be looking for proof that we're intelligent enough to interact with it? Maybe it doesn't want to waste time with species who can't comprehend its complexity. Or maybe it's deciding whether we're worthy. Min Jia-yun chimed in from across the room. He was still working on stabilizing the ship's systems, which continued to fluctuate under the artifact's influence. His tone was dry, almost sarcastic, but there was a hint of unease beneath his words. Because if this thing decides we're not, we might end up like those other guys, the ones who built it. The mention of the Varnith, the extinct civilization believed to have created the artifact, hung heavy in the air. Everyone knew the stories. How the Varnith had tried to harness the artifact's power to save their dying star, only to fail catastrophically. Their entire race had been wiped out, leaving behind nothing but ruins and whispers of their hubris. The thought of sharing their fate sent a chill through the crew. "We need to focus," Jeho reminded them firmly. "Speculating won't get us anywhere. Subin, keep working on the runes. Hygiene, monitor the energy readings. Minji, make sure the ship stays intact. We'll figure this out step by step." With renewed determination, the team dove back into their tasks. Hours passed as they worked tirelessly, piecing together fragments of understanding from the artifact's cryptic messages. Subin slowly began to decipher more of the runes, translating bits of text that hinted at the artifact's true nature. According to her findings, the object wasn't merely a tool or weapon. It was a gateway, a conduit for unimaginable energy. But using it required more than technical skill. It demanded unity, trust, and selflessness. "This isn't about technology," Subin explained during a brief break. She pointed to a series of symbols that seemed to depict interconnected figures. "It's about connection, not just between machines or systems, but between people. The artifact is designed to amplify whatever intentions you bring to it. If your motives are selfish or divided, it could turn against you." Dong Sickly frowned, his arms crossed as he leaned against the wall. "So basically, if any of us screws up, we all die?" "In simple terms, yes," Subin replied bluntly. "This thing doesn't tolerate discord. That's probably why the Varna failed. They couldn't work together when it mattered most." Her words struck a nerve. Each member of the crew felt a pang of guilt or doubt, remembering moments when tensions had flared aboard the horizon. They had argued, snapped at each other, let fear cloud their judgment. If the artifact truly judged them based on their unity, they weren't sure they measured up. Jeho noticed a shift in mood and stepped forward, his voice steady and reassuring. We've come too far to let doubt stop us. Yes, we've made mistakes. Every team does. But we're here now, and we have a chance to prove ourselves, to show that humanity is capable of rising above its flaws. Let's focus on what matters, working together. His words resonated with the group, easing some of the tension. Hygiene nodded, her expression resolute. He's right. We need to trust each other. Whatever happens next, we face it as one. Encouraged by their leader's resolve, the crew redoubled their efforts. Subin continued decoding the runes, uncovering deeper layers of meaning. One sequence described a ritual of sorts, a process requiring a biological interface. Whoever connected with the artifact would act as a bridge, allowing the rest of the team to access its full potential. However, the text came with a stark warning. The interface carried risks. Those who entered the artifact's domain might lose themselves, their minds overwhelmed by the sheer scale of knowledge and power within. When she shared this discovery with the group, a heavy silence fell over the command center. No one spoke for several moments, the weight of the revelation sinking in. Finally, Hygiene broke the silence. I'll do it, she said quietly but firmly. All eyes turned to her, surprise evident on their faces. You can't be serious, Dongsik protested. It's too dangerous. What if something goes wrong? I'm the most qualified, Hygiene countered. My background in astrophysics gives me the best chance of navigating whatever lies inside. And if there's even a small chance this could help us succeed, I have to take it. Jeho studied her for a long moment, weighing the risks. He wanted to argue, to insist that someone else volunteer, but deep down, he knew she was right. Hygiene's expertise made her the logical choice. Still, the decision weighed heavily on him. Are you sure about this? He asked gently. She met his gaze without hesitation. Yes, I'm sure. Preparations began immediately. Using equipment aboard the Horizon, Minji rigged a portable interface device capable of linking Hygiene's consciousness to the artifact. Meanwhile, Subin translated additional instructions from the runes, ensuring they understood every step of the process. Dongsik kept the ship stable, monitoring external conditions while keeping an ear on the conversation. As everything fell into place, the atmosphere grew somber. The crew gathered around Hygiene, offering quiet words of encouragement. Even Dongsik, usually brash and confident, looked unusually subdued. Just come back, okay? He said gruffly, avoiding eye contact. We need you. Hygiene managed a small smile. I'll do my best. With everyone in position, Hygiene activated the interface. A faint hum filled the air as the device synced with the artifact's energy field. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, a brilliant flash of light engulfed her, and she slumped forward, unconscious. Inside the artifact, Hygiene found herself in a surreal dimension unlike anything she had ever imagined. Swirling galaxies stretched infinitely in every direction, their colors shifting and blending like liquid paint. Strange shapes floated past, abstract forms that seemed to pulse with life. In the distance, she saw visions of the Varnith, towering beings with crystalline bodies, their movements graceful yet desperate as they labored over immense machines. She witnessed their downfall firsthand, their attempts to control the artifacts spiraling out of control, consuming them in a burst of catastrophic energy. But amidst the chaos, she also glimpsed hope. Fragments of knowledge revealed themselves to her, showing her how the artifact functioned and what it required to operate safely. It wasn't destruction the artifact offered. It was balance. By channeling its energy correctly, it could stabilize dying stars, breathing new life into fading systems. The key lay in harmony, in aligning one's intentions with the greater good. As the visions unfolded, Hygiene felt a strange pull, as if the artifact were testing her resolve. It showed her images of Earth, her family, her friends, everything she loved, and whispered doubts into her mind. Was she strong enough? Could she truly trust her teammates to follow through? For a fleeting moment, fear threatened to overwhelm her. But then she remembered Jeho's words. We face it as one. She thought of her crewmates, their strengths and weaknesses, their shared determination. Together, they had faced countless challenges, and together, they would overcome this one. With renewed clarity, Hygiene embraced the artifact's lessons, absorbing its knowledge and preparing to share it with her team. As the dimension began to fade, she felt a surge of gratitude, not just for the opportunity to learn, but for the people waiting for her back on the horizon. When she opened her eyes, she was back in the command center, surrounded by worried faces. I'm okay, she assured them, her voice hoarse but steady. And I know what we need to do. The crew listened intently as Hygiene explained what she had seen. The artifact's power was immense, but it could be harnessed safely if they worked as a unified team. Any trace of selfishness or discord would doom them. Success depended not just on technical skill, but on their ability to trust and support each other completely. Jeho placed a hand on her shoulder, pride shining in his eyes. Then let's finish what we started. Together. And so, armed with newfound understanding, the crew prepared for the final phase of their mission. The artifact loomed before them, its runes glowing brighter than ever, as if anticipating their next move. Whatever happened next, they would face it as one, a testament to humanity's courage, ingenuity, and unwavering spirit. The crew of the Horizon stood at the edge of their greatest challenge yet. Hygiene's insights had given them a roadmap, but putting it into action would test every ounce of their strength, skill, and unity. The artifact's runes now pulsed with an almost impatient rhythm, as if urging them to proceed. Outside, the dying star flickered faintly, its light dimming further with each passing moment. Time was running out. Jeho Kim took a deep breath, his mind racing through the steps they needed to take. All right, he said, addressing the team. We know what we have to do. Let's break it down. Hygiene, you'll guide us on managing the energy flow. Dong-sik, your job is to keep the ship steady while we interact with the artifact. Min-ji, stay ready to adapt the systems in real time. And Su-bin, keep translating those runes. We can't afford any mistakes. Each member nodded, their expressions a mix of determination and apprehension. They had come too far to turn back now, but the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on them. This wasn't just about succeeding or failing. It was about proving that humanity could rise to meet the unknown with courage and teamwork. Hygiene stepped up first, her voice calm despite the tension in the air. The artifact amplifies whatever intentions we bring to it, she reminded them. If our focus wavers, even for a second, it could spiral out of control. We need to trust each other completely. Dong-sik adjusted his grip on the controls, his knuckles white. Flying manually near the artifact had already pushed him to his limits, and now he faced the added pressure of maintaining perfect alignment during the activation sequence. Got it, he muttered. Just don't ask me to do anything crazier than usual. Min-ji rolled his eyes but didn't comment. Instead, he focused on monitoring the ship's systems, ensuring everything was primed for the surge of power they expected. Sparks occasionally flew from overloaded circuits, forcing him to make quick repairs. This thing eats energy like it's nothing, he grumbled under his breath. Hope we don't fry ourselves before we're done. Su-bin remained glued to her console, deciphering the final instructions etched into the artifact's surface. Her fingers danced across the keyboard as she cross-referenced symbols and patterns, piecing together the last pieces of the puzzle. Almost there, she murmured, her voice tinged with urgency. Just a few more adjustments. As preparations continued, the artifact seemed to grow restless. Its containment field tightened around the horizon, causing the ship to vibrate violently. Alarms blared, warning lights flashing across the command center. Hygiene shouted over the noise. It knows we're close. If we don't act soon, it might reject us entirely. Jeho clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. Then let's move. Everyone, stick to your roles. We've got this. With that, the activation sequence began. Hygiene took her position at the main console, her hands hovering over the controls. She carefully adjusted the energy flow, ensuring it remained stable as they initiated contact with the artifact. Each adjustment required precision. One wrong move could destabilize the entire process. Dong-sik fought to keep the ship steady, his muscles straining as he wrestled with the controls. The artifact's gravitational pull fluctuated wildly, threatening to drag the horizon off course. Sweat dripped down his face as he executed intricate maneuvers, dodging invisible forces that threatened to crush them. "I'm doing my best here," he called out, his voice strained. "But this thing isn't making it easy." Minji's eyes scrambled to counteract the interference, rerouting power to critical systems and reinforcing the shields. His hands moved quickly, bypassing damaged circuits and improvising solutions on the fly. "Shields are holding for now," he reported, his tone clipped. "But if the energy spikes again, I don't know how much longer we can last." Meanwhile, Su-bin relayed crucial information in real time, interpreting the artifact's responses as they followed the activation steps. "It's accepting our input," she exclaimed, her voice rising with excitement. "Keep going. Just a little further." Despite their progress, doubts crept into their minds. The artifact's trials weren't just physical. They were mental and emotional as well. Each crew member felt the weight of their own fears and insecurities pressing down on them. For Dong-sik, it was a fear of failure, of not being good enough. He had always prided himself on his piloting skills, but now he wondered if he was truly capable of handling something this monumental. Su-bin wrestled with guilt over a mistranslation earlier in the mission, a minor error that had nearly cost him dearly. What if she made another mistake? Could they afford to trust her judgment? Even Jae-ho, usually steadfast and unshakable, questioned whether he was the right person to lead them. What if his decisions led to disaster? What if they all perished because of his choices? But then came the artifact's next test, a series of visions designed to exploit their weaknesses. One by one, the crew experienced vivid hallucinations tailored to their deepest fears. Dong-sik saw Earth burning, cities reduced to ash as alien invaders descended upon humanity. He heard screams echoing in his ears, cries for help he couldn't answer. Despair gripped him, paralyzing his movements as tears streamed down his face. "I failed," he whispered, his hands falling away from the controls. Minji found himself trapped in darkness, surrounded by the accusing voices of his teammates. "You couldn't fix it," they sneered. "You let us down." The words cut deep, shaking his confidence. His hands trembled as he struggled to repair a malfunctioning circuit. Convinced it was hopeless, Su-bin relived the moment she realized her mistranslation had put them in danger. The memory replayed endlessly, taunting her with images of her friends dying because of her carelessness. She buried her face in her hands, unable to continue. And Jae-ho saw his crew turning against him, blaming him for leading them to their deaths. Their angry faces haunted him, accusing him of arrogance and poor judgment. Doubt consumed him, leaving him frozen in indecision. For a moment, it seemed like the mission was doomed. But then, amidst the chaos, Hygiene's voice broke through. "Remember why we're here," she shouted, her words cutting through the illusions. "We didn't come this far to give up now. Trust each other. Trust yourselves." Her words struck a chord. Slowly, the visions faded, replaced by clarity. Dong-sik wiped his eyes and returned to controls. His resolve hardened. "I won't let fear stop me," he muttered, gripping the yoke tightly. "Not now." Minji shook off his doubts, focusing on the task at hand. "If I mess up, so be it," he thought. "But I'll die trying." With renewed determination, he stabilized the ship systems, buying them precious seconds. Su-bin took a deep breath, reminding herself that mistakes were part of learning. "I won't let guilt hold me back," she told herself firmly. "I'll keep moving forward." And Jae-ho straightened his posture, pushing aside his self-doubt. "They trusted me to lead them," he reminded himself, "and I won't let them down." Together, the crew refocused, their bond stronger than ever. They communicated seamlessly, anticipating each other's needs without hesitation. Hygiene fine-tuned the energy flow, guiding them closer to the artifact's core. Dong-sik steadied the ship, his instincts sharper than ever. Minji adapted the systems with lightning speed, ensuring they stayed operational. And Su-bin provided real-time translations, her voice steady and clear. As the final step approached, The artifact reacted with a burst of energy, illuminating the surrounding space with blinding light. The runes on its surface flared brightly, forming a single, glowing symbol, unity. It was a message, a confirmation that they had passed its tests. "We did it," Jeho said softly, all evident in his voice. Now comes the hard part. With everyone working in perfect harmony, they channeled the artifact's power toward the dying star. Energy surged to the horizon, coursing into the star's core and reigniting its fading flames. The transformation was gradual at first, but soon the star began to burn brighter, its light spreading warmth across the void. The artifact pulsed once more, then disintegrated into stardust, leaving behind only fragments of its runes as proof of its existence. The containment field vanished, freeing the horizon from its grasp. Silence fell over the command center as the crew absorbed what they had accomplished. They had faced their fears, overcome their doubts, and proven that humanity's greatest strength lay in its ability to unite. As the dying star flared back to life, casting its glow across the galaxy, the crew of the Horizon knew they had changed the course of history, not just for themselves, but for all life among the stars. The dying star roared back to life, its once faint glow now a brilliant blaze that lit up the surrounding void. The crew of the Horizon watched in awe as their efforts bore fruit, the artifact's energy having reignited the celestial body's core. Waves of warmth radiated outward, bathing nearby asteroids and debris in golden light. For the first time in what might have been millennia, the star pulsed with vitality, its renewed flames promising centuries of stability for any planets or systems that relied on it. Inside the ship, silence reigned. Each member of the crew stood frozen, their eyes fixed on the spectacle outside. Hygiene Park leaned against her console, her face pale but illuminated by a quiet pride. Dong sickly slumped into his chair, his hands still gripping the controls even though the danger had passed. Min Ji-Yoon sat cross-legged on the floor, staring at the glowing runes that floated harmlessly in space, remnants of the artifact's final moments. Su-Bin Choi wiped tears from her cheeks, her voice trembling as she whispered, "We did it." Jae-ho Kim broke the silence, his tone calm but filled with emotion. "Yes, we did." He turned to face his team, his gaze steady but warm. "You all should be proud. This wasn't just about saving a star. It was about showing what humanity is capable of when we work together." The words hung in the air, sinking into each of them like an anchor grounding them after storm. They had faced unimaginable challenges, doubts, and fears, not just from the artifact, but within themselves. Yet here they were, standing victorious amidst the ruins of uncertainty. It wasn't just a dying star they'd revived. They had reignited something deeper within themselves. Hope, trust, and unity. As the initial shock wore off, practical concerns began to surface. What happens now? Min Ji-I asked, breaking the spell. Do we head home, or is there more to this mission? Hygiene shook her head. The artifact is gone. Whatever purpose it served has been fulfilled. I think we've done everything we can here. Dong Sik let out a long breath, leaning back in his seat. Good, because I don't know how much more my nerves can take. Jae-ho nodded thoughtfully. We'll set a course for Earth. But before we leave, let's collect data on the star's new activity. We need to document everything so scientists back home can study it. For the next several hours, the crew worked methodically, gathering readings and recording observations. Hygiene analyzed the star's energy output, noting how it's restored brilliance compared to other stars of similar size and age. Su-Bin carefully preserved images of the artifact's remaining runes, hoping they might provide further insights once studied in detail. Min Ji-I ran diagnostics on the ship, ensuring the Horizon could handle the journey home without issue. And Dong Sik plotted their route, double-checking every calculation to avoid surprises along the way. When the preparations were complete, the crew gathered one last time in the command center, outside the viewport. The rejuvenated star burned brightly, a testament to their hard work and sacrifice. Jae-ho raised his hand, signaling for everyone's attention. Before we go, he said, his voice soft but clear, I want to say something. He paused, looking at each of them in turn. This mission wasn't easy for any of us. There were times when I doubted myself, when I wondered if I was leading you down the wrong path. But every step of the way, You proved me wrong. You trusted me, supported each other, and showed incredible strength when it mattered most. That's why we succeeded. Not because of technology or skill alone, but because of who we are as people. His words resonated deeply, bringing smiles to tired faces. Hygiene nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. It wasn't just you, Jeho. We all doubted ourselves at some point. But we pushed through, not just for ourselves, but for each other. And for Earth, Dongsik added, his usual bravado softened by sincerity. I didn't sign up for this mission, expecting to save a star. But knowing we made a difference, that's worth everything. Minji chuckled dryly, rubbing the back of his neck. Yeah, well, if anyone asks, I'm taking full credit for keeping the ship from falling apart. Just saying. The group laughed, the tension melting away. Even Su-Bin managed a small smile, her earlier tears replaced by gratitude. Thank you, she said quietly, addressing the team. Without all of you, I wouldn't have made it this far. We truly are stronger together. With that, Jeho gave the order to depart. Dongsik engaged the engines, and the horizon turned gracefully, leaving the glowing star behind. As they entered hyperspace, the hum of the engine provided a comforting rhythm, a reminder that they were finally heading home. Weeks later, the crew returned to Earth as heroes. News of their success spread quickly, sparking celebrations across the planet. Humanity's achievement captured the attention of the entire galactic concord, earning respect and admiration from species who had once dismissed them as inexperienced newcomers. The story of how 5 humans stepped into the unknown and saved a dying star became legend, a symbol of courage, ingenuity, and determination. At a grand assembly held in the Concord Hall, Jeho addressed representatives from countless civilizations. Standing before the assembled crowd, he recounted their journey, the challenges they faced, the lessons they learned, and the unity that carried them through. His speech ended with a simple yet powerful statement. Every other species walked away from the mission, but we didn't, because stepping into the unknown is who we are, and sometimes, say we'll do it, changes everything. The hall erupted in applause, cheers echoing through the chamber. For the first time in history, humanity stood tall as equals among the stars, not because of superior technology or power, but because of their willingness to embrace uncertainty and act selflessly. Back on Earth, the crew reunited with their families and loved ones. Hygiene spent hours explaining the science behind their discovery to eager students, inspiring the next generation of explorers. Dongsik returned to flying, but his reputation as a daring pilot soared even higher. Minji opened a workshop where he tinkered endlessly, creating innovations inspired by their journey. And Su-Bin dedicated herself to studying the artifact's runes, determined to unlock their remaining secrets. Jeho, meanwhile, took on a leadership role within Earth's space program, guiding future missions with wisdom gained from experience. He often reflected on their adventure, marveling at how far they had come. What started as a seemingly impossible task had become a defining moment not just for humanity, but for the galaxy itself. As the years passed, the story of the horizon continued to inspire. Statues were erected in honor of the crew, books were written about their journey, and songs celebrated their triumph. But perhaps the greatest legacy they left behind was a belief that no challenge was insurmountable, not when faced with courage, trust, and unity. In the end, humanity proved that greatness wasn't measured by strength or resources, but by the willingness to step forward when others hesitated. Every other species had walked away, but humans said, "We'll do it." And in doing so, they changed the universe forever.